Okay, super scholars, now that you've had time to work, let's go over what we've done. So, the first thing you should have done is to sort the animals into swim, walk, or fly. Now, yours might look a little different than mine, depending on how you sorted them. Let's look at our activity page that went with the sorting. The first question asks, what is your representation about? Our representation is about animals that can walk, swim, or fly. Think, would it make sense to say that our representation was about what is our favorite ice cream? Probably not. Number two, how many animals are in each group? Now, this question might have many different answers depending on how you decided to sort it. I sorted 4 animals into swim, 8 animals into walk, and 4 animals into fly. Number three, how many animals are there in all? How did you figure this out? So remember, our success criteria ask us to write an equation with 3 parts. So one way you could figure this out is to add your parts together. Now, since I had 4 swim, I can put 4 plus 8 walk plus 4 fly. Your equation might look different depending on how you sorted this. However, do you think that our total would be the same? Because we all used the same animals, our total would be the same. So our total is 16. You could figure this out in many ways. You could count the pictures, you could count things around your house, or one way that I figured it out was I added 4 plus 4 to make 8 because I knew that 8 plus 8 equals 16 using one of our double specs. Number 4 and number 5 will have different answers depending on the student. So you may have answered this completely different than another student. So let's move on to our pages that we did for practice. Apples, grapes, or oranges? Student in a grade 1 class answered the question, which do you like best, apples, grapes, or oranges? Here are their data. Number 1 asks how many students like apples the best. To figure this out, you can just go to where it says apples and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 students like apples the best. How many students like grapes the best? You could have figured this out in 2 different ways. You could count one by one, or you can look to see where the grapes and the apples are the same. So that's 8 because I know there are 8 apples, but then I noticed that there's still 2 grapes left. So 8 plus 2 equals 10. 10 students like grapes the best. Did more students choose apples or oranges? So let's look at oranges and let's look at apples. It looks like apples has a longer line than oranges. So more students chose apples over oranges. And you can go back and count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 is bigger than 6, so that means that more people chose apples. Which fruit did students like the best? Grapes has more than apples and oranges, so that means that students like grapes the best. How many students answered the survey? To figure this out, you can add apples, grapes, and oranges together to get the total. So I have 8 apples, 10 grapes, let me fix that for us, and 6 oranges. When you add these 3 numbers together, you get 24 total. So if I wanted to write an equation to represent the data in this survey, I could do 8 plus 6 plus 10 equals 24. Daisy, tulip, rose. Students answered the question, what is your favorite flower? A daisy, a tulip, or a rose? How many students chose daisy? Again, you could just count the students in the daisy to get the total. 13 students chose daisy. How many students chose tulip? So you could count, or you can see where they're the same and see that 8 students chose tulips. How many students chose rose? 6 students chose rose as their flower. How many students answered the survey? So this is another time you could use the 3 parts to the equation. So you can add 13. Let me fix that so it doesn't look all kinds of crazy. Plus 8 plus 6. When you add those 3 parts together, you get 27. So the answer would be that 27 students answered the survey. Write an equation about the data. So since you had 13 that chose daisy, 8 that chose tulip, and 6 students that chose rose, you could write the equation that shows how many did that survey altogether. Now, does it really matter what order you put the numbers in? No, because once you add them all together, it will always equal 27. How many more students chose daisy than tulip? There's a few ways you could figure this out. One, you can see where they're the same, and then count how many more are left, which is 5. You can show this in a few ways by doing equations or just writing to tell us what you did. All right, Super Scholars, thank you for checking your work with me. If you missed anything, you can always just go back and correct it.